At 0612 Somalia, engines scream across the waves. A swarm of 31 speedboats tears through the morning light, slicing the water like knives. This isn't a random act of piracy. It's a coordinated assault. RPG-7s rise above their gunnels, and deck-mounted DSHK heavy machine guns begin their deafening rattle. This is a pirate fleet, moving with the terrifying precision of a trained naval squadron. On the deck of the USNS Pathfinder, the small security detail dives for cover as the first volley of bullets sparks against steel containers and bulkheads. The air fills with the sharp crack of incoming fire and the shouts of the attackers. The pirates split into attack wings, with one group laying down a blistering curtain of suppressive fire that pins the defenders down. Simultaneously, another group exploits the cargo ship's blind spots, throwing grappling hooks that bite into the rails with practiced ease. Armed men swarm over the sides, their movements fast and brutal. The deck becomes a scene of chaos and metallic impacts. In less than 5 minutes, the bridge is taken, the crew is subdued, and the American flag is unceremoniously torn down. But they have no idea what they have truly done. They thought they had just captured a ship. They had actually lit a fuse on a powder keg. The USNS Pathfinder was far more than a simple supply vessel. Officially designated T-AIC-12, she was a critical, irreplaceable node in the U.S. Navy's global logistics network. To an outside observer, she looked unremarkable, just another slow-moving freighter plying the trade routes. In reality, she carried the lifeblood of the entire USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group, operating just over the horizon. Her cargo wasn't just fuel and food. It was the key to American lethality in the entire region. Stored in her vast, climate-controlled holds were pallets of advanced munitions, including the guidance systems for AIM-9X Sidewinder missiles. More importantly, she held dozens of encrypted avionics modules for the fleet's F-35C Lightning II fighters, the brains of America's most advanced stealth jets. The most critical cargo, however, was a state secret: several drums of a newly developed hypergolic propellant. This classified compound was essential for the carrier's next-generation long-range hypersonic missiles, a weapon system designed to hold any target on the continent at risk. Without the Pathfinder, the F-35s were grounded. The missile batteries were silent. The entire strike group's ability to project power across thousands of miles was effectively crippled. Losing this ship didn't just mean a delay. It meant risking the compromise of America's most advanced naval technology. If those components were offloaded and sold on the black market to a rival power, the strategic damage would be catastrophic, setting back U.S. military dominance for years. The pirates, in their greed, had unknowingly seized one of the most vital assets in the Indian Ocean. But as they celebrated, the clock was already ticking. He remembered the briefing at Pearl Harbor. He remembered the secret modification made to his command chair. As the pirates were distracted by their prize, his hand, seemingly limp at his side, made a subtle, practiced movement. His thumb found a small, flush-mounted button integrated into the chair's armrest and pressed it firmly. There was no siren, no flashing light, just a single, invisible burst of data, lasting less than a second, shooting skyward to a military satellite in geosynchronous orbit. 150 nautical miles away, aboard the flagship USS Gerald R. Ford, that signal painted a single, horrifying dot on the main screen in the Combat Information Center. The tag flashed in stark red letters: LV-72D, hostile capture, code word, shattered trident. A hush fell over the darkened room. The pirates were laughing, completely unaware that their single act of aggression had just started a countdown, and every second ticking by was bringing the full, unyielding fury of the United States Navy closer to their door. The time for negotiation was over before it ever began. Aboard the USS Gerald R. Ford, the shattered trident alert sent a shockwave through the command center. There was no debate, no call to Washington for authorization. Standing doctrine for the loss of a strategic logistics asset gave the on-scene commander, Rear Admiral Peter Sloan, complete authority. He stared at the tactical map for less than 5 seconds before his decision crystallized. The code word Shattered Trident was a ghost scenario, a nightmare contingency that meant an enemy had their hands on America's most sensitive technology. His voice, broadcast over the ship-wide command channel, was cold steel. Initiate Operation Ceaseless Fury. All assets spin up. We are taking our ship back and we are erasing their sanctuary from the map. Execute. In the CIC, operators and intelligence analysts moved with quiet urgency, their screens coming alive with tactical overlays and satellite feeds. On the carrier's massive flight deck, the deck vibrated under immense power. the air thick with the smell of jet fuel as yellow-shirted aircraft directors guided a full squadron of 12 FA-18E Super Hornets onto the steam catapults. The pilots of VFA-31, the Tomcatters, ran through their final checks, their jets armed with AGM-65 Maverick missiles and 20mm Vulcan cannons. In the hangar bay below, flight crews swarmed over 10 MH-60S Seahawk helicopters. Within minutes, they were loaded with 300 operators from SEAL Team 6 and the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit's Elite Force Reconnaissance Platoon, a combined force of America's most lethal maritime warriors. Simultaneously, the carrier launched its entire complement of 20 MQ-25 Stingray drones. These AI-powered machines were not just for reconnaissance, they were hunters, armed with advanced thermal sensors and racks of laser-guided APKWS rockets. They flew low and fast, fanning out to form an inescapable net around the captured Pathfinder. Far above, a B-2 Spirit bomber, callsign Spirit-01, already on patrol over the Middle East, received new encrypted coordinates. It banked sharply south, its mission changed from strategic deterrence to outright annihilation. Its new target? The pirates' heavily fortified mainland base. The order was absolute: retake the ship and leave no trace of the enemy. How would you react, celebrating your victory, completely unaware that a storm of unimaginable force was about to break right over your head? At 06:45, the pirates, now consolidating control, clustered their remaining 27 speedboats around the captured Pathfinder like a protective shield. They felt secure. That was their final mistake. The MQ-25 Stingray drones arrived first, flying low over the waves in complete electronic silence. They were ghosts on radar. From 10,000 feet, their thermal cameras painted a perfect picture, distinguishing the hot engines of the pirate boats from the cool ocean. In the carrier's command center, an operator's screen marked 4 patrol boats on the outer perimeter with red diamonds. His voice was calm. Targets locked. Weapons free. From the drone's underwing pylons, laser-guided rockets streaked downward. The ocean erupted in 4 simultaneous blasts of fire and shrapnel, vaporizing the perimeter screen in less than 3 seconds. The sudden, violent explosions sent a shockwave of terror through the pirate fleet. On their radios, panicked shouts replaced triumphant chatter. They had no idea what had hit them or from where. Some boats began to scatter while others fired machine guns blindly at the clouds, wasting ammunition on an invisible enemy. Then came the thunder. The FA-18s roared in from high altitude, their wings angled for a high-speed pass. They screamed past the hijacked ship at just 200 feet, the sheer sound of their afterburners a physical blow that shook the vessel from bow to stern. As the pirates looked up in shock, the jets came around for a second pass, this time firing their 20mm Vulcan cannons. The streams of tracers, firing at 6,000 rounds per minute, didn't hit the boats. They created a churning wall of white water just yards from their hulls. The message was unmistakable: you are trapped. From the west, hugging the sea surface, the 10 MH-60S Seahawks appeared. As they converged, the helicopters popped flares, a preemptive countermeasure for missiles the stunned pirates couldn't even manage to fire. They didn't circle. They flared hard, their rotor wash whipping the sea into a froth as they achieved rock-steady hovers over the deck, their open doors revealing the elite warriors ready to descend. Thick, fast ropes dropped onto the deck with perfect synchronicity. In seconds, 300 operators were on board. The pirates never stood a chance. Flashbangs out, hatches breached. The teams moved like a single, lethal organism. Alpha Team stormed the bridge, eliminating the pirate leadership with suppressed fire before they could raise their weapons. Bravo Team descended directly into the engine room, securing the ship's controls. Charlie Team fast-roped to the main deck where the American crew was held, cutting their bonds and moving them to a casualty collection point where medics stood ready. From the moment the first boot hit the deck to the moment the last hostile was neutralized, the entire ship was secured in 9 minutes flat. The mission was not over. While the Pathfinder was being retaken, a parallel operation was reaching its climax. U.S. Cyber Command and the National Security Agency worked in tandem, fusing the live drone feeds with intercepted radio chatter from the initial boat attack to triangulate the pirates' command signals. High-resolution satellite imagery was retasked in real time, confirming the location, a heavily armed compound in the coastal town of Ras Hafun that had operated with impunity for years. It featured hardened concrete bunkers, vast fuel depots, and a sophisticated, albeit outdated, radar system. On the bridge of the ford, Admiral Sloan looked at the real-time images. Far overhead, the B-2 Spirit-01, arrived over the coastline, a complete ghost to the pirates' radar. At 50,000 feet, Its bomb bay doors slid open against the thin, cold air. A payload of 16 GBU-31 JDAMs, 2,000-pound satellite-guided bombs, was released. They fell silently for several minutes, 16 silver darts of vengeance arcing through the upper atmosphere toward their pre-assigned targets. On the main screen of the Ford's command center, they watched the drone feed in silence as 16 icons descended on the map. The first icon blinked out as the bomb struck the radar tower, instantly blinding the base in a shower of sparks. The next hit the command bunker, penetrating its roof and turning it to dust before anyone inside could react. The real-time drone footage showed a few dazed survivors scrambling from the wreckage. For them, the horror was just beginning. The FA-18s, their work at sea done, swept inland. In their cockpits, pilots saw targets painted for them by the orbiting Stingrays, fleeing technical trucks highlighted in red on their helmet-mounted displays. It wasn't a battle, it was an extermination. A strafing run from a Vulcan cannon, its 20mm rounds chewing up the earth, shredded a fleeing truck. A single AGM-65 Maverick missile, guided with pinpoint accuracy, found the entrance to an underground tunnel, collapsing it instantly and sealing the fate of anyone inside. The fortress that had terrorized the coast for a decade was reduced to a smoking, cratered graveyard. In under 5 minutes, every asset, every boat, and every man involved in the attack had been systematically and absolutely annihilated. The attack on the Pathfinder was more than a successful hostage rescue. It was an unmistakable signal broadcast to the entire world. America's logistical lifelines are not soft targets, but red lines that will be defended without negotiation or delay. The pirates believed they had found a vulnerable link in the chain. They failed to understand a fundamental doctrine of American power. An attack on one link is an attack on the whole. They believed they had time and space to bargain for a ransom. In reality, they had only started the countdown to their own destruction, provoking a response that was faster than they could react and more absolute than they could have ever imagined. To every rogue state, terror group, or warlord watching, the message written in fire across the Somali coast was clear. The price for crossing America's red lines is not ransom, it is total annihilation. For those who looked closely, the real lesson wasn't just in the battle, but in what it meant. To every American, at home or abroad, know this: wherever our flag sails, it never sails alone.